Oh, okay. Have I? There's a lot to unpack with that one. Have I ever grown to like Baby Johnny? Who? But it didn't take long because at the end of the day, if I wasn't a full-time content creator, I don't know if I would have pushed the character as far as I did.
We'll go to the Metaverse Degen. I'm lying.
I'm Old Man Raptor, and we got one hell of a guest here today, and that is
Stinky Wolf Boy? What?
Oh.
Stinky Wolf Boy. Wow, I got to remember going next time I bump heads with you, going, "Hey, Stinky, how's it going? Nice." Oh, Christ, Johnny.
Thank you very much for joining us. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on. How'd you get started?
Thanks for having me. How did I get started? It just in general. Well, I was born, and then I grew up.
I like this guy already. I like where he's going with this boat.
Where do you want to start? Is probably the better question.
How'd you get into VR, and what led you into making content? Sorry for being very vague.
Sorry for being a dick, but
it's okay. I deserved
it. Hey, usually it's me. Oh, the pressure's off of me for once. Yay! I feel special now, folks. Holy shit.
I was really interested in VR. I almost bought a Oculus prototype when they came out. I forget what they were called. I know it's not the CV one, the one before that. Almost bought that. Ended up not buying that. And then just VR just kind of was in the back of my mind until one day, January 2018, when a friend of mine was like, "Hey, have you heard of this thing called VRChat?" And I'm like, "What's VRChat?" And he's just like, "Well, you know those Ugandan knuckles that you see on like Reddit and Twitter and everything? You know that meme?" I'm like, "Yeah. Oh, that game?" And he's like, "Yeah, let's go check it out." So we hopped in on desktop and played around a little bit, and did the usual cringe stuff that you do when you first, open VRChat that you'd never want to talk about again. And then I just kind of left it, and then about a month or so later, I came back to VRChat and I started kind of poking around and finding just basically lobbies where I could perform music and just kind of get to know people, and that's where I discovered like the open mic night lobbies at the time. Anybody who was playing VRChat in 2018 kind of remembers that sort of music scene, certainly, where everybody would just grab a guitar or piano or whatever and just sing and jam out. And so I got involved in that, and that was kind of what I did with VRChat for a few months. Somewhere in there around, I think, like April, I was like, gee, I'm playing VRChat a lot. I should maybe get a headset. So I drove down to the Microsoft store. That should give you an idea of how long ago this was, because Microsoft stores don't exist anymore. But that was the only place in my city I could go buy a Vive. So I was just like, cool. I went and picked up a Vive, brought it home, got on VR, and then I started immediately trying to figure out how I could perform music in VR. And along with that, I started meeting a few friends in like open mic night lobbies. And at that time, we had nothing. VRChat was just this empty shell. For anybody who remembers back then, it was just this empty shell of you have a menu, you can go to worlds, and you have some avatars, and like that's it. So as far as community building, connecting with people, your main source of that was just finding people in worlds that were like-minded and just trying to bring that together on Discord. And so the music community at that time was very fragmented, and so quite literally we spent several months just running around public worlds going, hey, have you heard of our music community that we're putting together? It's called the Star Collective. Would you like to join? And you do that enough times, and eventually you amass a music, the first, what essentially became the first major music and talent community in VRChat. And so Star Collective, we ran that for a little while, and one day people were just like, Johnny, you're really entertaining and funny. Have you thought of Twitch streaming? And I I had like I knew streamers. I was friends with several partnered streamers through my TFM days. For those of you who don't know, Truckers FM, it's a community radio station for the Euro Truck and American Truck Simulator games. That's why I have TFM in my name. It just kind of stayed there. I never got rid of it. But I knew a lot of Twitch streamers from back then, and so they kind of pointed me in the right directions and taught me, what I needed to do. Got a stream up and running. And just started performing music on Twitch in VRChat, trying to figure out, okay, how do I perform music in this medium? And then after about a month, I started to grow quite rapidly, and my chat bought me trackers, so I got full body, and it just kept going from there. And after about 2 months, I hit my first 1,000 followers on Twitch, and that's when I realized maybe I should keep this up. There's something here. People are enjoying it, and apparently I am entertaining. So I just kept doing my thing, and then by October of 2018, I had got laid off from work. And I had, am I allowed to swear? And first of all, am I allowed to
Go
swear?
right ahead.
Or you can say
go
swear,
right
right?
ahead. We don't give a flying fuck.
Well, I was laid off, got not a huge severance, but enough where I basically had what we classify as fuck you money, so I could do whatever I wanted for a little while. And so I was just like, let's try this. I walked out the door when I got laid off with a big smile on my face because I was working in a very toxic work environment in IT where I was at the time. So like it was to the point where even the HR director who was walking me out at the time was like, "Are you okay? You're really happy. This is weird. Like we don't usually have people smiling on their way out the door. They're usually crying and just like completely emotional and just in shock." I'm like, "No, I'm good. See you later. Cheers, have a good day," and just walked out the door, called my wife, and was like, "I'm a full-time Twitch streamer now, okay? I'm going to try this for a little while and see what happens." And turns out it was the right place to be, because, I just kept developing my skills and growing as a content creator. And then when the pandemic hit, anybody who was a content creator knows at that time it just went kaboom and just exploded. And I was along for the ride on that one as well. And yeah, I just had fun and just developed new ways of doing content. That was Omegle during the pandemic because everybody was using Omegle to stay in touch. And so I just took VRChat and Omegle, smushed it together, and turned it into a format that worked. And along with that, my avatar creator at the time went, "Here's this little character, we're going to call him Baby Jonny." and and people are actually shocked when I tell them this. I'm just like, I at first was like, I'm not wearing that stupid avatar. I'm not playing that stupid character. I have no interest in this. I don't want to do this. And they're just like, "But try it. Just try it." And so I started doing a few little bits of content with Baby Jonny, and my YouTube audience made it very, very, very clear that they absolutely loved it because my channel just went from, oh, it's growing really fast to it exploded. And so I was like, okay, I think I found a niche bit of content that works really well, and I found my audience, and so let's just see where this goes. And I kept up with the music along with doing the Baby Jonny stuff. I worked with many amazing VRChat directors to produce some amazing music videos along the way, and really kind of started to as far as that respect, work alongside the filmmaking community in VRChat to kind of develop that. And we went from starting out with back in the days of VRC Lens version 2, where it wasn't even designed for filmmaking. It was just a photo camera. But hey, we can figure out how to make it work. So we shot, the early music videos in that, and then eventually the film version of VRC Lens came out, and so we started using that and just developing a sort of, just like a lot of other people like Metacosm at the time and a few other studios that have carved out their little areas in VRChat for filmmaking. We were just kind of developing what it means to create content and create and tell stories using VRChat as a medium to do that, and figuring out all of the problems that arise from that and solving them and just trying different things. And and it's really quite an interesting space to create content in, because while most other YouTubers have to, travel around, go out, see friends, collaborate in real life, and worry about things well, they should. I know a lot of YouTubers don't, but permits, shooting permits, they're a thing. YouTubers, they're a thing, and you should probably pay attention to them. But like, you don't have to worry about any of that stuff in VRChat. You just get some friends together. Nobody has to travel anywhere. You just get online, and we found that incredibly powerful, and it allowed me to network with people in a time where nobody could network IRL. We were all locked away. So yeah, it was just, and to this day, even VRChat is just this incredible filmmaking tool that just, allows complete flexibility. Like, there was one, I think it was on the Savannah shoot, the Savannah music video. It was, to date at that time, one of the most complex shoots we had done, because it had a lot of extras. And anybody who's shot in VRChat knows that, not only do you have to deal with like lag and deal with like people kind of going ooh shiny and losing focus and all that, but you have to also coordinate just like you would on a real set with extras and all that. And so you have limited time. And we were shooting a specific scene that required golden hour, which, for those you don't know, is the special hour when the sun's setting or when it's rising, where the lighting is perfect. And we were in a world that was simulating that, and we were basically my director was trying to coordinate all of the extras and get everything sorted, and it took us way longer than an hour, but we just had that convenience. It didn't matter. We were in VRChat. We had the perfect lighting. We had exactly what we wanted, and we could take all the time in the world to get the shots that we wanted. And that is so incredibly powerful, as far as filmmaking goes. And so, like, you get little special things like that when you create things in VRChat. You can, the sky's limit. Like, we didn't have to we didn't have to rent a yacht. But we're on one. You know,
Comes out of Lions' budget, not mine.
Yeah. But yeah, it just allows for incredible flexibility as a filmmaker and as a creator, and as an artist. And that's not even, we're just talking about worlds. That's not even getting into like avatars and how people want to visually represent themselves. And that's a whole other can of worms. So, but that's kind of how I got here. Yeah, I just love creating in here. I love being a VTuber. I love just doing all of this. I've committed to it so much that I've converted my basement into a home mocap studio space. So
Wow.
it is my space that I do all my work in, and everything. So yeah, it's pretty amazing. If you would have told me when I walked out the door in 2018, and phoning my wife, it's just like, that all of this stuff was going to happen. And, if you even just telling me that I would, hit 1 million subscribers and get a gold plaque and like make it that far as a content creator, I would have been like, bullshit, you're full of it, like, get out of here. But I mean, it's been an incredible journey, and I owe it all to my community and my fans and everybody who supports me. I have an amazing community, and just, my goal has always just been to spread positivity, and especially during the pandemic, people always tell me when I talk to fans, they're just like, your comedy, your stuff, your content, everything that you made, I was always looking forward to your video every week, because I always knew you're going to make me laugh. And that's, as a comedian, like any comedian will tell you, like, we strive the best, we do the best in the darkest times, because that's our job, is to just like shine a little ray of light and make people smile when they're, when everybody's just going through an absolutely horrid time. So yeah, that's me.
Fair.
All right, and I got a question. I got two of them. First one is, when you first came into VR, because I asked this of everybody, what was the weirdest thing you saw and you had to go, nope, this is not for me, I'm out of here? That's the first question.
the meme avatars, but I think that's everybody. Like, for me, it was like I got in. Yes, I am guilty. I was a Ugandan Knuckles for all of maybe a half an hour or so, and
God.
then dabbled in a little bit of the Tide Pod lolly era as well. You know, and it became a joke in my community at one point with the Tide Pod lollies and everything. But that was kind of the thing where I was like, I was very much into the music side of things. I was like, I'm here to meet other musicians, and I'm here to collaborate, and I'm here to jam, and I'm just here to have a good time and put together concerts and all that sort of stuff. As far as like the meme side of VRChat, I was never really overly interested in that side of VRChat, and a lot of it, yeah, tended to be a bit more toxic and a bit more edgy and problematic, and all of that. I mean, like the Uganda Knuckles meme is not. We really shouldn't wear it as a badge of honor in this community. It's quite a horrible meme, but whatever. It stuck. So.
Okay, my second question is, you said something. I like to know what kind of wife you married that let you completely take your basement and deck it out. Because usually you get stuck to the garage, not the basement. Mostly the guy gets the garage, not the basement. I want to hear this. You got my attention on this one.
Well, first of all, to answer your question, we don't have a garage, so there was no garage to throw me outside into.
Yeah, so you got thrown to the basement. I got you.
So the basement, I think, is that's number 2 on the list of like where can I hide you so that you don't embarrass the family or friends. No,
you're not standing in front of a window going, he's got headgear on. What the hell's this man doing? Yeah, I got you. Got neighbors driving by going, well, there's another accident. Johnny's in the house. How do you know? He's got his gear on. Can you tell? We have accidents on this corner. They don't run the stop signs or the street lights. They just keep running over my mailbox because Johnny's doing something in front of his front living room window. Gotcha. I understand that. That makes sense.
To answer it, the real answer is she as well comes from an artistic background, and she also does music. So that's actually where we met. When I was busy getting my degree in computer science, I met her at university. She was getting her degree in music performance. So her background is even more so, in the arts. So for me to be like, yeah, I'm just going to convert the basement into a studio is just like, okay, like, yeah, it is what it is. And I realize that not every spouse would be supportive of that, or would, I know for a fact that some of my family, when I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna be a Twitch streamer now, and they didn't even know what Twitch was, and I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna do this instead of continuing a career in IT, looked at me like I had gone off the deep end, and were just like, are you okay? Do we need to take you to the hospital? Do you need to go on some drugs? Like, are you thinking straight here? It's just like, I can afford this. I have the runway financially to do it. I want to try it. And that's, I mean, really where it came from in the first place, because I can remember back in 2018, I had just turned 30. And I was, I had done my time. I had done 8 years working at the same place that hired me straight out of university, and I did 8 years, and I was like, I did that career, I tried it, and I don't want to go to my grave wondering if I could have done this career and done it successfully. And so I was like, screw it, I'm not getting any younger, let's go for it. And yeah, and a year and a half later and a ton of grinding, I got my answer. And yeah, it turned out that it was the right decision. And yeah, I
got another one for him. I got another one for him. Has your wife inspired you to sing? Has your wife inspired you to sing?
No, actually, she's classically trained. So she comes from a completely different side of music, whereas I started playing piano when I was 2 years old. I'm completely self-taught. I didn't really consider myself a singer, and then in high school, the music teacher at the time, I wasn't even in band. I took one semester of band, and that was it. And I was just like, I hate reading music. I hate band. I hate all of this. Not for me. And I never really figured out a place in the academic side of music where I felt like I fit. And then in high school, in I think grade 11, a new music teacher came in, and she had a extensive music background in contemporary and pop and rock, and her husband owned a professional recording studio in the city, and had recorded with like big name artists, and it's like like the real deal, and they were songwriters, professional songwriters. And so she was just like, I'm putting together a songwriter program, and just this extracurricular thing. Shout out to any teachers that are out there that do this sort of stuff. There were just like, here's a gap in education that students would be interested in. And it turns out that program that she put together was incredibly popular. But I had never thought of myself as a singer at the time. I was just like, hee, I can play piano, so cool. I'll come in and play piano, and somebody else can sing and write songs and stuff. I'll just compose, and they got me singing, and everybody was like, hey, Jonny, you can sing. You can sing, right? And I'm like, no, I don't. I sound terrible. What are you talking about? I don't sing. And basically she sat me down and said, okay, you can sing, but if you're going to keep singing, you got to learn how to sing right. Otherwise, you're going to ruin your voice in about a year or two with how you're singing. So she just basically took me under her wing, like she did a lot of students in the program, but she saw that I was particularly, I guess, gifted, and spent a lot of time teaching me how to sing, how to songwrite, how to compose properly. But from the perspective of still catering to the fact that I didn't know how to read music, I didn't understand theory. I just wanted to make music, and a lot of prolific songwriters function the same way. Like you look at like the top end of the list, like Lennon and McCartney. They didn't have theory. They just sat there and just figured out and went, hey, that sounds cool. Hey, that's pretty awesome. Let's do that. And so it's just like, my wife was the classically trained musician that you plop some music sheets in front of them, and they'll play music, whereas I'm like all about the feeling and all about just like connecting more so directly with the music versus being all I guess what's the word I'm looking for, like just kind of going with it versus being technical about it. So we're two very different sides of the same coin in essence. But yeah, I was a musician long before. If anything, I used music at the time to, because that's like a secret power move for anybody trying to attract anybody trying to attract a mate. It's just like, yeah, it's just be a musician. It's easy. It's like a cheat code. Just grab a guitar, and that classic cliche of just the guy at the university just grab a guitar. He doesn't even have to be that good. Just play some notes and sing a little bit, and you'll have girls all around you. That's just how it works. It's a cheat code at life.
You said something earlier that kind of interested me. I'd like to ask you about is how did you get involved with Star Collective, and what was the VRChat music scene like at that time?
The involvement was quite literally, I am one of the founders.
Oh.
It was me and a few other friends that founded that Discord. Because the major problem at the time with the music community was that it was so fragmented. We weren't the only community. We certainly do not hold the title of the first music community in VRChat. That's completely false. But as far as the longest running music and talent community in VRChat, they just wrapped, I think earlier this year, they finally shut down the community. But like that long running community existed because of the fact that everything was so fragmented. We didn't have groups, we didn't have anything. And so we needed something that we could grab all of the VRChat musicians and put them under one umbrella and be like, okay, here's a place where we can coordinate. And that's really what caused the birth of Star Collective, was just we were just so tired of all the fragmentation. And so once Star Collective had built up to a certain point, the first thing that we did is we shifted gears away from just, spamming people in open mic nights like, hey, join our Discord. And we shifted to, hey, other fragmented music communities, come under the umbrella. And all at the time in 2018, 2019, a lot of the music communities did exactly that. They either shut down their discords or kind of just pushed everybody into that umbrella, and Star Collective became the sort of single point of entry for anybody wanting to do music in VRChat, and a lot of other things too. They did avatar making and art and just a million other things, because it wasn't just about music. It was an artist Discord. So if you did anything artistic related in VRChat, Star Collective became the place you could go to network with people and meet up with people and all that sort of stuff. So it was birthed out of a necessity to prevent fragmentation in the community. That's why it shut down at the beginning of this year, was because everybody who was still running it kind of all agreed that it didn't make sense anymore for it to exist, because we have groups now. And if, we've seen that groups has become the de facto number one tool in VRChat for community building. You can run a community now in VRChat without even needing a Discord. You literally do not even need a Discord. It's nice to have for some for coordinating some aspects of running a community, but it's certainly not required anymore. You can run events, coordinate people, do everything you need to do just within a group. It's doable now. So Artifacts, which is what it was rebranded to along the way, it became Artifacts. Shut down earlier this year because it just didn't make sense anymore within the context of VRChat. It was just easier to leave it to the smaller groups. And so now we went from this big community and then fragmented back out, but that's okay, because everybody has their own flavor of community now. And so that in and of itself, I think, is more powerful, because if you're, for example, a furry and a musician, then you've got the furry musician community. If you're, a break dancer, then you've got many, many different breakdancing communities that are out there. Or, you get what I'm saying? It's just like there's way more opportunity for people to find that direct niche that they're looking for, and groups allows that now. So it just didn't make sense for it to exist anymore. And I went to the last concert and saw a lot of people I hadn't seen in a long time, and it was really cool to see a community that I helped start last for so long. And the people that put their blood, sweat, and tears into it to keep it going all those years, it's like I was just there when it started, and eventually I had to walk away from it because content creation was just taking up way too much of my time. But it was so amazing to see people come together, and that's not to say the same people saw it all the way through, but there was always a team of people that were willing to keep the lights on and keep it going. And so many musicians and so many artists found their voice in VRChat through that community and grew. And it's phenomenal to see where quite a few different people ended up. Like there have been people who have gone on to professional careers, myself included, that just started out there, and that's really fucking cool.
So also, shortly after your time with Star Collective or Artifacts, you've mentioned during COVID you got that big boom. What was the time during COVID like for content creators in VRChat or VRChat from your perspective in general? How has it changed during that time, and with you?
Yeah, so it was I would say it would probably be the weirdest time in my life. I know everybody says that about the pandemic, but it was a weird time in my life for a completely different reason. I didn't really get a lot of the issues in the pandemic that everybody else did, because I had already been working from home. And so that was already my reality. And then when everything exploded during the pandemic, the world was falling apart, literally falling apart around everybody. But my job was booming. So I just kept my head down and kept working and just providing content. And it's just like, it didn't matter what the rest of the world was doing. Like, I understood contextually that what I was doing was important to people. Oh, thank you, Quest, for randomly popping up the Oculus menu. There we go. I knew what I was doing was important to people. But as far as like the existential dread of a global pandemic, it just didn't factor into my day-to-day life. It was just, I was more focused on analytics and numbers with YouTube and growing a community and running a community more than anything else. And so I kind of coasted through the pandemic without any issue. And I guess that's a good thing. It's probably the right way to do a global pandemic, I guess. Yeah, it was just a really weird time. But I think a lot of people who go through that experience of, I guess, fame and experiencing that all say the same thing, regardless of whether it's during a global pandemic. It's just a really weird thing to happen. It does change your life. It does change who you are. The cliche of, "Oh, you got famous, you changed, man." It's like it's a bit true. Although I tried not to turn into an asshole. I've had other colleagues turn into assholes, but it is easy to let that go to your head and have an ego and all that sort of stuff if you don't keep it in check. But it is like that whole experience. It's just weird. There's really no other way to put it into words, because it's one of those things that you can't really truly describe unless you experience it, because it's just bizarre and very few people get to experience it. And yeah, so just weird.
Fair. It was a very weird time at those during that as well. What have been some of during your long career of YouTube? What would have been some videos you've been most proud of bringing out and working on?
Probably the project that I am most proud of to date would have to be the True Colors music video, just because the sheer scope of its execution. When I first pitched the idea to my director, he looked at me and just went, "You're fucking nuts. Like, this isn't gonna work. There's no way in hell that we pull this off." And so if you haven't seen the video, just for anybody who hasn't seen the video, first of all, go check it out for sure. It's an amazing video. But basically the concept essentially was, I was like, I want to cover True Colors, which is a huge anthem for the LGBTQ community. And I want to cover that song, and I want to get as many VRChat creators into the video as possible, as many as I can. And we ended up, the final count with the shoot, we got 80 creators in that video.
Oh wow.
Which is no small feat.
Sure.
On top of that, we had an idea for the video where we wanted people in the video, the creators in the video, to hold up cards with sayings on them that represented, things that are important to them within the context of Pride and within the context of the LGBTQ community. And so that also required another element. So we knew what world we wanted to use, and it was a spooky ghost boo world. And I know Spooky; they're an amazing creator, and I've known them for a long time. So I just knocked on her door and went, "Can we do this?" And Spooky was just like, "Well, the world is pretty old, but I'll give it a shot." And she got it working and got the stuff in, the props we needed for the shoot and everything. And huge shout out to her for helping out with that. That was amazing. Yeah, we just put it all together, and miraculously somehow we were able to release this thing. I think the shoot took almost 2 months. And we were able to release it during Pride Month in 2021. And yeah, it, to this day, still, like, people still talk to me about it. It's just like, I love that video, and it's just so amazing, and I love the song. I love your cover of it, and it just, it scored exactly where I wanted it to hit, and yeah, and it's just been something that I will always be proud of because it's a song that is important to me. It's a message that is just saying it's a message that's important to me doesn't even do that justice. Like it to my core of my being, it is something that matters deeply to me. And yeah, it just communicated exactly what I wanted it to communicate, and it became this thing that I want, exactly what I wanted it to become. So yeah, and everybody involved in the project helped make it that. So, but it was the best way to describe it was, yeah, my director looking at me going, "No, you're nuts. We're not doing this. It ain't happening." But we did it.
Sounds like you learned a lot from doing the whole process too, working on that specific video as well. At least you're trying to get 80 creators into one video and working on it successfully.
It taught me that I could produce, and it also taught me that producing is hard, and I don't want to. Both love and hate it. So it's just like yes and no. But that was simply just because it was such a complex project. A lot of the other music videos that I've done over the years, I usually get directors. I don't generally like directing my own music videos. I like to bring somebody in who has a specific concept that they want to execute on. And I just basically, I'm essentially the producer role, and I just give them the tools they need to make it happen, and make sure everything gets done. And so that is the role I prefer there because I mean as well it's an artistic collaboration. My side of it is already done by the time they're coming in because we've already done the cover or recorded the song or whatever, and so they're being handed a finished song and they're then being asked within the context of this song and what it means to me as an artist, where do you see the video? And like my most recent music video project, which I worked with Ariel Emerald on, and a number of other people, including the amazing Crispy Wisp.
Yeah, and she's here, so don't lie about it.
I see you over there.
I see you over there. I had to throw that in there.
That was really fun.
When we recorded the song, Lydia and Melody and I and Hamster Alliance, we Hamster did the producing, and Lydian did most of the pretty much all of the arranging and everything, and then I came in and sang on it and did my thing. And so like we honestly really didn't even have an idea of what we wanted to do with the song. And then collaborating like that's why I love bringing in a director, and just you sit them down, you press play, they listen to the song, and you're just like, what do you want to do with this? And at that point, if you would have said space battle, I would have went, what the fuck are you talking about? Like it's a K-pop song. What are we doing a fucking space battle for? But to her credit, Ariel knew exactly what she wanted to do with it, and she knew what story she wanted to tell with it. And the only goal of the project that we really had with it all was we were just like, we want to put something into Rain Dance Immersive so that we can have something in Rain Dance Immersive, and hey, maybe we'll win, maybe we won't, who cares? It's just we'll have something in Rain Dance Immersive. And sure enough, we did get nominated. So we reached that goal, and we somehow shot that video in a month and got it done. I still don't, to this day, I don't think anybody on the crew figured out, like, it was just like we started and then we blinked and then it was done, and we were really tired and exhausted and we didn't want to do it anymore. And we had something at that point, and we were just like, cool. All right. And we hit our deadline, but it was just that was actually probably one of the quickest shoots I've done for a music video because it just we just got it done because we had to. And it turned out amazingly well, and I was so fortunate to work with Crispy on the space battle sequence, which was incredibly difficult to do, but we got it done because of the sheer amount of talent and expertise that we brought in for the project. Just literally the best VR filmmakers, pretty much just all getting together and just like, let's do this, and we got it done. And thankfully as well, I had hundreds of hours already in test pilots, so they were a little nervous the first time. I remember the first time I met Crispy, and she was just like, so Ariel says you can fly, can you? And I'm like, yeah, don't worry, I got this. And we went out and flew together for a little bit and came back to Ariel, and Crispy was just like, Johnny's fine, we're okay. So if I didn't know how to fly, then I don't think we would have made the project deadline, because it just would have been too much. That would have been the one thing that I think would have tipped the scales and just pushed us over the edge and made it impossible to do. But yeah, I got to work with an amazing stunt coordinator. I got to work with an amazing director. I got to work with amazing film crews. Everybody on the project just brought their A game, and it was such an honor to be able to work with so many amazing artists. So yeah. That's number 2.
Question
I know you
4.
didn't ask what my second favorite is, but
no.
that is my number 2.
I was going to bring that up anyway, but how was that music video different from the ones you've done prior with Ariel Emerald? May I ask, how was it any different from the others?
Yeah. I hadn't done a music video in a long time. And so I think there was about a 2-year gap, because the video I did before that was Welcome to VRChat. And the video itself with Welcome to VRChat wasn't hard, because it was just a shot-for-shot remake of Welcome to the Internet. So I literally just sat there and did a shot-for-shot of the Bo Burnham video. So that the hard part of that one was writing the song and getting it done before somebody else stole my idea. And sure enough, I did, once I released the song Welcome to VRChat, I had several creators message me the next day and just like varying of, hey, cool song, I had the same idea, to fuck you, you stole my idea. But like, I just, from inception to publishing the video on YouTube was a week. So that one, the difficulty in that one was just getting it done in time. But for Like Crazy, the difference with that project was I hadn't really done VRChat filmmaking in quite a long time, and the medium itself and the people working in it had grown it technically by so much. Because like when we were shooting in 2020 and 2021 doing those music videos, we were just kind of cobbling together what we could, versus, you know, in 2024, you know, now the de facto standard is they're shooting things exactly how you would IRL. They're shooting on ProRes. They're, you know, you're doing colorization. You're doing everything you would in a real shoot. And like things like with the space battle, we were doing multi-camera sequences. We were structuring things just like they did. Ariel took a lot of inspiration from Top Gun Maverick. And because we weren't doing a 3D animated canned animation for those sequences, we were actually flying. We had to treat it as such. So we were, the big difference was the fact that the VRChat filmmaking community had matured so much by that point, and I hadn't seen how much it had matured. And so just to be able to sit back and see how far it had come was amazing. And that was one of the cool parts about getting back into that scene. It was just, you know, seeing how much it had grown and how professional it's gotten now, and like what level it's at now. I've said it many times. I definitely think that the only thing holding back the VRChat filmmaking community at this point is funding. Like, nobody's, I don't know if anybody's tried, but like you could literally walk into Netflix and be like, hey, you know, that show that cost you, you know, $10 million to make? Yeah, we can do that for $500,000 easily. And first of all, they'll go bullshit, but it's the truth. Anybody who works in the VR in the VR filmmaking community knows, like, we can make this stuff for pennies on the dollar. It's so easy. And then the other issue is, well, people are like, well, it looks like VRChat still. It looks like a video game. the only reason it does is because you don't have dedicated world creators, you don't have dedicated avatar creators, you don't have dedicated crew to manage things like lighting, all of the things that you would need in end-to-end production, just like in an animation studio. They just need money to pay people. The expertise is here, the people are here, and the technology is here. It's just people need the money to do it. But if somebody had a good enough idea and could convince somebody, like one of the streaming services, to greenlight a project, there's no doubt in my mind that somebody could produce a TV show or a movie in VRChat. And people wouldn't even know that it was done in VRChat. We are to that point. So somebody's going to do it. I'd like, there's no doubt in my mind somebody's going to do it. It's just who's going to be the person to do it, and who's going to be what corporate entity is going to fund it is and take a chance on it. That's really all it is. But as soon as they see as soon as somebody is capable of achieving that, it's, in my opinion, I think, going to cause an explosion, just like in the MMD community with like projects like Ruby, for example, caused an explosion when people were just like, oh, okay, so we can do this, I guess, and just there are film schools, not small film schools, large film schools that that I've gone in and lectured for and talked about VR filmmaking. They're teaching the kids that are learning filmmaking right now, part of their curriculum is VRChat, or VR filmmaking, but they use VRChat as the medium, and they are teaching it. And like I say, this isn't just like some random film school off in nowhere. These are top 5 American film schools that I've worked with, that I've guest lectured at. Like, they're teaching this stuff, so it's coming.
Wow.
And somebody's going to do it. So we'll just have to wait and see who. If Netflix is watching, I get money. I like money. We can do this. Call me. No.
It's pretty impressive
I got a
to hear
question
that VRChat's evolved that much.
I got a question. I got a question for Jonny. What do you get out of when somebody comes out of nowhere, that they see you, or they look up your name, you see your name tag, or, they text you in YouTube or on Omega and stuff like this? What do you get out of when somebody comments on what you're doing? What vibe do you get from it? Or thrill or chill or whatever it might be?
I think I could more easily condense that down into the question of, why do I do this job? Because
that too.
Yeah, because that's the answer. Is the reason I do this job, or it makes my answer make a bit more sense. But like the reason why I do this job is not because of the money. Believe me. Like, if you're an artist and you're like, I'm going to become an artist for the money, it's just like, oh, honey, you're in the wrong occupation. Go do something else. Nobody's getting rich being an artist. It just doesn't work that way ever. Especially a musician, like, oh my god, and comedians as well. Like, you don't make a lot of money. I think the funniest story I heard recently, people think that like you hit it big on Spotify, that you're suddenly like just showered in money. And it was Snoop Dogg recently who released a track, and he was talking about this publicly. He's just like, he's like, I got my check from Spotify for the streams, and it was $50,000. And he looked at his manager and went, this is it? Like, this, are you sure? Like, this is it? And it's just like, that's the truth. It's just like, the music industry especially, like, nobody's getting rich. And, you're making your money off of merch, you're making your money off of live performances, but you ain't making money off of the actual core content. YouTube's the same way. Like, you're not really making money off the core content. So yeah, certainly didn't get into it for the money. The reason I do this job, is something that immediately any of my close friends could tell you, is just the fan interaction and the impact that you have on people's lives. And that's not to say that's true for everybody, but for me specifically in the style of content that I do, I try to remain positive and uplifting and giving people something that'll either make them laugh or warm their insides. Something basically by the time the video is done, you're smiling. It's that's the goal. And when interacting with fans, that's what makes it worth it, is when a fan comes up to you, and it happens all the time because my friends commented all the time. They're just like, you just switch into this mode and you just directly interact with fans, and that experience is special because 9 times out of 10, what the fan is telling me is, that what I do as a creator enriched their life in a very special and personal way. And I mean, money's money and fame is fame, but when you can impact somebody's life where it changes their life for the better, then that's why it's worth it. And having somebody even, and this has happened, it's not an isolated incident, especially given that I blew up during the pandemic. I have had many fans tell me that they were they are still here because of my content. And so like some people went to some really rough and dark places, and just knowing that, hey, next week is another video and I'm going to laugh again. And this may be the only thing in my entire week, this 10-minute video that's going to make me smile and laugh, but hey, it's going to make me smile and laugh. And that's going to be just the one little ounce that keeps me going for another week, like that is profound when somebody tells you that. Like the first time somebody told me that, it's just like, I'm just a shithead on the internet, but what I do means something to people, and that's worth more than money or fame. Like that's I think as artists where your drive needs to come from, is impacting people. And it doesn't always have to be happy. I mean, many artists do things that are sad, or many artists do things that are controversial, or whatever your art may be, but having an impact on people and changing minds or impacting lives, or that that's why you do it. That's why you're an artist. And that's generally how my fan interactions go, is just most of the time is just people filling me in on how it changed their life.
What have been some fan interactions that have stuck with you or over the years, may I ask?
Oh my goodness, there's been so many. I honestly think I already answered it, because like I don't think you can top literally saving a life. That pretty much. Well, there is one other interaction actually that is very close to my heart. It actually happened recently. At the beginning of this year, I knew something as far as like my mental health had declined severely, and it was kind of the moment that I think a lot of people with mental health issues that don't get checked out until the last second go through, where it's just like, I'm fine, I'm totally fine, and then you go to the doctor and you do all your assessments, and you sit down, and this literally happened. Sat down with the psychologist, and I was just like, so it's all good, right? And they're just like, we got a lot to talk about. And the assessments came back, and it wasn't that I had slight bits of things. It was, yeah, Jonny, we're diagnosing you with autism. We're diagnosing you with ADHD. You have depressive disorder, major depressive disorder. You have a major anxiety disorder. And to top it all off, you have PTSD. We don't know what's causing the PTSD, but we got to figure that out. But you have all of this stuff. So that was kind of like a bomb going off next to my head, and just like, okay. And so I was still trying to process that, along with trying to keep working, but pulling back on that a little bit and like trying to still do stuff for fans, but not doing so much as to harm my mental health. And one of the things that we do as far as fan interaction is these community nights where we play games with the community, and then we have a meet and greet after where fans can meet me one-on-one, and this is all in VRChat, meet me one-on-one and interact with me, get a photo, and just, kind of just like at a convention where you meet and do a meet and greet, only we do it in VRChat. And there was this one kid who had to, I don't know, really, really young, had to be like maybe 13 at the most. We'll assume 13 for the sake of VRChat TOS. But anyways, this kid who was really shy and really emotional and just came up to me and was getting their picture and everything, and had mentioned, I watch your videos because they make me laugh, and baby Johnny is my friend, and I really like him, and I connect with him. Essentially, was what he was saying. And he was just like, I don't have a lot of friends, and I have a really rough time in school because I have autism and ADHD, and I, like the kids make fun of me and they bully me, and I don't really know where I fit. And I just looked at him because it'd been like a month or two since I was diagnosed. And I just looked at him and said, hey buddy, I have that too. It's okay. You're valid. Don't worry about it. And he just burst into tears. And yeah, I still get choked up talking about it because it was just a really emotional moment, because you could tell he hadn't been validated with who he was up until that point. Like he had just been stomped on. And I grew up, I went through that too. I grew up in the 90s where we didn't really know what autism was or what ADHD was. We just slapped Ritalin in a kid's mouth and kicked them out the door. And so I could identify, and I knew what he was going through. And I just sat there for a bit and chatted with him, and just he hadn't really had that interaction with somebody who knew what he was going through, and he hadn't been validated to be like, it's okay, how you are is okay. And by the end of it, my entire, because I have a staff team that works with me at these events, and they were all crying, and it was a very emotional event, but to have that sort of impact on somebody where you validate them to their very core, to their very being, and tell them it's okay, how you are is okay. It's just, there's no words. It's just something special. It's something very, very special.
Sounds like a very special moment. Did you anticipate that kind of impact on people when you first started making content?
Fuck no. No, it's just like genuinely no fucking clue. I just wanted to do something. I just didn't want to sit in front of a desk for the rest of my life and do shitty, boring IT work. Not to say it's shitty and boring for everybody, but for me, it just wasn't my thing. It just, like, I would go home at the end of the day after, because like being I was a systems administrator, and then before I was let go, I had climbed to the rank of senior systems architect. So I was literally building and architecting systems, and it just didn't fancy me. And a lot of the time you're just sitting around waiting for something to break. And so there would be weeks that would go by where I just literally sit at a desk all day and just surf Reddit and just do fuck all. And I would just remember walking to my car at the end of the day and just being like, what the fuck am I doing? It was like, this is not what I want to do. And so like, that's really the only motivation at the time when I became a content creator, was just like, I want to do something else. I don't know what I really want to do. I want to try this thing and see how far I can get, because I had already done, IT, and I got pretty damn far. Like, as far as a sysadmin goes, becoming a systems architect is pretty freaking high up there. That requires a lot of skill and a lot of certifications and a lot of, there's a large skill set you need before a global corporation will hand you the keys and be like, here, build us entire systems, build us server farms from the ground up. That's pretty top end. So I had reached a pretty high pinnacle in that career, and it's just like, I don't want to do this anymore. And so that was really where it started, was just like, I want to do music. I want to make people laugh. I want to entertain. Let's see if we can do that. And I never imagined that I would have such a deep impact on people. It just kind of blindsides you. Like, it really does. And at least, like, maybe other people, maybe other artists expect that, or, whatever. But for me, it just came out of left field. I did not expect that. So I don't even remember what the original question was, but I need to hydrate, so.
Oh, that's no problem.
No problem at all.
I have another.
Hopefully I answered it.
Oh, you did answer it. The original question was, did you anticipate the impact? But I also have another question that's going to kind of stretch.
Answer is hell no, yeah.
That's going to stretch a little bit as well. For when you first started with Artifacts Star Collective, what has it been like for you watching the VRChat scene grow, either both in filmmaking and in music?
Well, I already talked about filmmaking, so I think it's a great opportunity to talk about how the music community has grown. Because, like, when I first started out with just a Vive and some Vive wands and, a mixer and a microphone, I had a vision for what I knew the music scene in VRChat could be. And keep in mind, this is 2018. This is long before the pandemic explosion and the club community and the DJ scene and all of that. This is long before that. I just looked at VRChat and went, this can become a viable venue for music. The framework is all there. Somebody just needs to come in and solve the problems and put the walls up and slam a door on it and some windows and boom, and roof over top, and we're done. And so, like, at the time, I knew where it was going. It's kind of like when you see something and you can kind of almost peer into the future and see the trajectory that it's probably going to go. And that's where I saw music in 2018. While everybody else was getting full body trackers and the dance side of VRChat, and like that was kind of the thing in 2018. Those were the top creators, were like the dancers and everybody like that studying movement. While they were studying movement in VR, I was busy trying to figure out, okay, how do we make a concert in here? And when I say how do we make a concert, I mean like high quality audio fidelity, complete with special effects and lighting and everything. Like, how do we produce a professional concert in here? Because we can. It's Unity engine. You can pretty much do whatever the hell you want. How do we get there? And so I started out, just kind of gigging in the Great Pug on stage, performing music, half body. Then I got full body, and then I realized that I had to solve a bunch of other problems, like how do you perform? Because a lot of the times back then, especially, people were just showing up and they would do kind of what I called the VR musician stance. And it was just basically, hey guys, all right, I'm going to sing a song now. And they would literally just do a full set like this, just in this pose. And I'm just like, I sat there going, okay, you guys are talented, but this is a visual medium just as much as it is an audio medium. Like, it's great that you're piping music through your mic and performing, but you got to give people something to look at. And nobody really knew how the hell to do that. And so the journey for the music community became, how do we take a live performance that you would normally see on stage IRL, and how do you put that into VR? And all of the inner workings and all of the meticulous things, and then more problems present themselves, because it's just like, okay, you can move, you got full body trackers, how do you get audio in? How do you, and the answer to that, for me at least, was relatively easy, minus, figuring out how to do it within the context of VR and wearing all the equipment. But audio wise, people always ask me, like, how's your audio setup? And I'm just like, the same way it would be set up if I was gigging on a stage at a bar or something, or at a venue. It's the exact same. Like, all of my equipment is the exact same equipment you use there. I've got in-ear monitors. I've got a microphone that's, is the same wireless microphone that you would use if you were on a stage, and everything's getting mixed the same. Like that's all the same. It's just figuring out how to marry that with VR. And then as far as the performer goes, the problem's pretty much solved. And huge shout out to the people, the crazy people who have figured out how to play instruments and perform in VR. Like I want to give a huge shout out to like Whispers, for example, who's an amazingly talented musician who is able to play guitar and sing in VRChat all at once. Like, and now this year in 2024, we're starting to see bands perform together in VRChat, which is insane. But people are attempting it or trying it. I've attempted it myself with a guitarist and collaborating with Lydian Melody. And so like the bits and pieces are coming together, and like when the DJ community came into VRChat and we had VRCDN get developed and created by Jazzy Senpai, then we had the audio fidelity, and then VRChat brought in DMX support for lighting in VR. So now we've got the lighting rig, and so like all of these pieces over year were just getting added and added and added. And then and then it became, well, we have an 80-person lobby limit. How do we take a musician and rebroadcast them? And then you had things like Motion Shader, and you had entities like Ferality that just grabbed the bull by the horns and went, let's do this. And it all kind of came to a pinnacle. Like one of my goals, at least for a musician, was to play Ferality. And I finally got to do that this year, and to walk in and see the operation and the scope of that operation to achieve what they do in Ferality. And it's just like, oh my God, like we did it. We finally did it. And to see it all come together. And it's not just Virality. There's so many music communities out there that have full-scale operations when they put on a show. They have crew, they have security, they have everything that you would get at an IRL venue. It's just in VR. And so like it's insane, at least for me, to go back to 2018 and see what the music community was and the performing community was back then, and then to immediately turn around and look at things like Ferality and look at things like Cease and Desist Fest and all the other music festivals and the DJ festivals and everything now, and go, holy shit, how did we get here? Like, but it's just insane, because like 2018, looking off into the distance, I was like, we're gonna get there. I don't know when we're gonna get there, but we're gonna get there, and we're gonna be able to do this. And now it's just, people just do it now. It's just, that's what you do. And it's just insane to see. Like, it's just so cool.
Okay. I have another random question for you as well in terms of your streaming and what you do with that. What have been some moments with your audience streaming that you've enjoyed or have stuck with you over the years?
Oh, streaming. I always considered myself a streamer first, which sounds kind of weird because I think most people considered me a YouTuber first. I've always had a love-hate relationship with live streaming, because it's just kind of, I don't know, it's something that I love to do, but I'm really bad at it. First of all, anybody who's tuned into my streams knows that like I am not a professional streamer, not even the least bit. I just do it because I love it. And I've had lots of crazy moments on streaming, but it just comes down to being able to interact with people and just make them laugh. And like, there's certain moments that people bring up to me all the time, like the endless amount of interactions I've had with people, like for example Lolathon, or just cracking jokes, and whether I'm playing Baby Johnny or playing another character or just being myself, just being able to collaborate with people and just have a good time is always the best part about streaming. And VRChat allows us to do that. I love going into a streamer lobby and just causing chaos and bouncing off of people, and you never know what you're going to come up with or what you're going to improvise or what crazy scenario or moment is going to pop up. It's just it's pure utter it's like taking the paint buckets and just spilling them across a canvas and just having everybody just dogpile on the canvas and do like snow angels or something and just like, let's see what we can make, you know. It's just this pure raw artistry and collaboration and performance, and that's what I love about, you know, doing content in VRChat. It doesn't even have to be streaming, but generally you see that most in streaming. Is just this raw collaboration, just uninhibited. There are no boundaries. There's no, oh, we have to do that next Wednesday because Jerry's got to fly out from New York or some shit like that, or you know, like it's literally just put on your gear, hop in, and let's cause chaos, and that's just so cool, and that's just so much fun.
So after all the experiences you've told us about, from artifacts to rain dance and videos and streaming, how has your experiences changed your view on VR and VRChat from when you first hopped in to where you are now? Hello, we're here to interrupt the most interesting thing being said in our current video to ask you a favor, which is, would you mind joining us at any of the socials we have, such as Discord? We're hanging out all the time playing video games, so you can catch us there very frequently. We have I run Twitter for us, which is LionTurtle21 on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. It'll always be Twitter. But either way, there's that. We also have a Patreon, which we actually have a whole other show for our Patreon members, which are Aliquum and the newest addition to the bunch, Future Oracle,
Niche, and Forbidden Zero. Good friends of ours.
Yeah, thank you very much, you guys, for joining. It means a whole lot that you're there. And hope to see you there as well. We have a whole other show. There are some free ones we have released as well for the audio for you to listen to and to see what it's like. It's like a whole other show, so thank you. With that said, please enjoy the rest of your podcast on YouTube.
I would probably say it's, you know, 2018, it was still very much an experimental platform. And it was a very small community. So upon first getting into it, you know, I could see where it could go. And back then, we didn't even know how long of a runway VRChat had. And in certain respects, there's been times, I know, like 2019, the community shrunk and the audience for content creators in VRChat shrunk. And if the pandemic didn't happen, I honestly think VRChat probably would have mostly died, because it was on a pretty steep downward trend in 2019. By the end of 2019, things were starting to die, and things were starting to cycle out, and just VRChat had its time. Because people don't remember, like beginning of 2018, when VRChat blew up, it blew up huge. Like, it was massive. And I still say, I think to this date, it never, from a content perspective, has never been bigger than when it first blew up on the scene as like the meme game. And then it just kind of shrunk from there on out. But it isn't just about, VRChat was able to show that it just isn't about content creation. And they owe a lot of that to the pandemic, because we all thought the Ugandan Knuckles boom was huge for player numbers. Then you had the pandemic, because people were just like, well, I still need to be social somehow, and everybody had their quests lying around, and we're just like, oh, let's give this a shot again. And then everybody who came in during the pandemic, you know, found a place to socialize, and that caused another big boom. And then that kind of tailed off, and then everybody just went, well, okay, maybe this is it. And you know, like, then, you know, then Groups was on the horizon, and that got released, and then we had a really great community tool, and then Meta kept pushing Quest and selling more headsets, and it just kept snowballing and snowballing, and now it's just like, anybody who is deep into VRChat knows it's just like, all right, gird your loins, New Year's is coming, let's see what player number we're gonna hit this time, and it just it's now on kind of this weird cycle where Christmas happens, a whole bunch of new people get VR headsets, then New Year's happens, and the servers, the devs sit there with the servers as they hold on for dear life trying to keep everything together because they don't know what the target is that they need to hit for player base for that year. They just hope they have the server the server throughput to handle it, because it's just pretty much every year now it's just like, what's it going to be now? And the weird thing is, every time they hit that new plateau at New Year's, it doesn't fall off. It tapers off a little, but it's like they hit a new plateau every New Year's, and every year it grows a bit more and a bit more and a bit more. It's because of the features they keep adding in. Now going into, watching that evolve, and then right now looking off into the future as to where it's going, we're on the cusp of another major seismic shift in VRChat, and that is marketplace. That's creator economy. And VRChat today is going to look way different from VRChat this time next year when most of creator economy is implemented, just like it looked different when before and after groups. But I think creator economy is going to be the biggest shift that we have ever seen, for good and for bad, because there's a classic cliche of, oh, well, money ruins everything. Yes and no. What I think is going to happen is that people are going to, to a certain extent, creators in VRChat who create avatars and worlds, some of them have already reached this point where they're like, oh, I can make a living out of this now. This is just a job now. This pays my bills. But creator economy is going to take that, what we have right now, and it's basically, you haven't seen nothing yet. People who remember when Marketplace went live on Second Life, people who remember that era, know just how much of a shift it's going to create when you can come on here and the sky's the limit, and you can dream up many different ways to monetize stuff in here. The things that people are going to come up with are just going to be insane, and the amount of money that people are going to make is going to be insane. And anybody who's watching this scoffing at, oh, money, VRChat, you're not going to make that much money. Second Life, I tell this statistic to people who still doubt that even, I just talk within the context of creator economy for avatars, because people are like, oh yeah, no, Gumroad and Jinxie and Booth, those are all better because they have better revenue shares and everybody's already there. And I go, yeah, but how many questies are on there? Pretty much none. You go up to a questie and you go, hey, do you got Unity installed on your PC? And half of them will go, I don't even have a PC, that's capable of doing any of that stuff. And they're the majority of the player base. And so, just from the context of creator economy avatars, I try to explain this to avatar creators who doubt it. I'm just like, okay, let's take Second Life as an example, and they go, oh, well, that's not fair because, you're going to take Second Life in the early 2000s. And I go, no. 2021 Second Life. We're going to take 2021 Second Life. Dead game, right? We can all agree, dead game.
Yeah.
Second Life is a dead game. In 2021, how much money, and you can Google this if you still doubt me, you can Google it because that's where I got the number from. How much money do you think Second Life Marketplace paid out to creators who make assets and whatever else in the marketplace? How much money do you think they paid out? Not total sales, profits. The money that Linden Labs gave to creators. That's their share. Total, how much do you think that was for 2021?
I haven't the faintest idea. I'd say it's probably in the hundreds of thousands, close to $1 million.
Would you believe me if I said you're not even anywhere close?
I would be, honestly, I'm very shocked.
Dead game. Completely, dead game. 2021, they paid out Second Life Marketplace creators $80 million.
Holy crap. That's a lot.
Now imagine what VRChat's going to do.
Fair. That's quite a lot. Yeah. VRChat's not going to be the same.
The first week creator economy avatars goes live, the first week, the people who are on marketplace, that are on that marketplace for the first week alone, there are going to be people, and I could name names, I'm not gonna, but I could name avatar creators that I know are positioned and ready to launch at, like, to be there at launch. By the time that week is done, 1 week, by that time that week is done, and we've gone through a week of questies logging on and going, I can buy avatars now, and everybody just trying it once, because come on, everybody's gonna be like, hey, I like this avatar, buy. By the end of that week, we are going to have millionaires.
Wow.
I'm not even joking. We are going to have multiple avatar creators who are multi-millionaires.
Wow.
Period. It's not hard to calculate it either. Grab a piece of paper and just figure it out. Like, there's how many questies on at any given time, anywhere from 40,000 to 60,000 questies online at any time. If even 1% of them go, oh, buy on a $20, $30, $40 avatar, do the math.
Wow.
Do you still doubt me?
No, I don't doubt you. I don't doubt you at all. Although every time creator economy hits VRChat conversation, you do see the split in what the community wants, whether this is a great idea or this is a horrible idea. Like, I remember the VRChat club community was very much 50-50 down the middle, whether for it or against it. It's interesting to see.
Well, I don't think every monetization model fits, and that's why when I say, like, when I talk about, like, the multimillionaires, I specifically am talking about the very thin subset of avatar creators, because that is like a dead ringer. That's just like, okay, the most simplest, most streamlined revenue model for creator economy that's going to generate the most revenue. It's just a no-brainer. If you give a menu to all the questies in VRChat where they can just go, oh, I like that avatar, click buy, because they can't do that right now. They literally can't do that. And I like to call out the power users of VRChat, or the PC users, who are like, oh, well, yeah, you get better revenue share on Gumroad, you get better revenue share on Booth, you get better revenue share on Jinxie. Yeah, but that requires a knowledge of Unity that very few people in this game have. And when you can just click a button and have an avatar instantaneously, the buy-in on that is going to be huge. But there are other revenue models that people are experimenting with that make sense or don't make sense. I'm in the beta. I'm in creator economy, and I have a store up on my group that I have, and we use that. We're not reinventing the wheel or anything. The fan hangouts that I do a weekly hangout with my supporters on Patreon and Twitch and YouTube members, so they can come into VRChat and have, like, a more one-on-one, smaller environment to interact with me as a perk. And I just went to VRChat and said, hey, can you put me on the beta? I'll just basically take this model that I already have established and I will offer it on creator economy. And I was just like, I don't think it's gonna even get a single sale. By the end of the first week, I had 12 sales.
Oh, wow.
It's just like, and every week now, because we ping the group, every week, when we do an event, we'll ping the group again and ping the group again. And every single week, I'll look in my wallet, because that's where the money gets deposited, so I can look on my menu right now. It's gone up by a lot now. Like, I can't say how much it's gone up by, but, like, I just looked at it now comparative to last night, and it shot up again. And it's just like, it's making sales. It's working. People are buying it. And just for something as simple as pay $5 and come hang out with TFMJonny, they pay it, and it's streamlined, because it's quite literally, you're sitting there with your friend's mirror dwelling, you get a notification going, hey, Johnny's going to be on in an hour. If you're a supporter, you can buy this thing for 500 credits on the Wolfpack group, and then automatically you'll see the group instance populate so you can join it, and you just join it and boom, there I am standing in front of you. It's like, it's completely streamlined. It doesn't require any additional knowledge. You don't even have to be on my Discord server. You literally just go, oh, I got 500 credits in my wallet, click button, oh, there's the instance, join. It works. And it's simple and it's easy for people to do, and that's really all it comes down to with any revenue model that you implement, is just, does it give the buyer value? Do they perceive value in it? Do they get that value out of it? Are they happy with it? And is it easy to do? The answer is yes. And yeah, I that is probably the thing that I'm most excited about right now for VRChat. If you're just like, Jonny, you sat there in 2018 and looked into the future and tried to predict where you thought it was going, and here we are now. Everything that I thought was going to happen happened. Where are we going to go from here? And it's going to be, people are going to see the eye-watering amount of money that creator economy generates, and there are going to be so many revenue models, because the devs are doing credit to the devs. They are keeping the payment ways to make money, ways to take in money, as open-ended as legally possible. I'm sure their legal team at VRChat is constantly bashing their head against the wall, going, "No, you can't do that. That would get us in jail." But they're trying everything they can, short of getting sued or getting shut down or getting thrown in jail, because you have to handle money very carefully. But they're trying everything they can so that creators and communities in VRChat can just come up with an idea, and then they have the way to monetize it in some sort of structure. And so once creator economy goes fully live and it's in full swing and anybody can sign up for it and get approved and start using it, the revenue models we're going to see that we can't even think of now are just going to be stupidly crazy, and the money that it's going to make is going to be just dumb. It's going to be Roblox level of dumb, with just how much money it's going to make. Roblox makes a fuck ton of money, and I think VRChat's going to be the same. VRChat's going to make a ridiculous amount of money too.
So
I got a question for him, Line. I got a question for him. When you were on Omega and stuff like this and everything else, knowing some of the weird stuff, I've watched a couple of them, a couple of your videos and stuff like this.
Yeah.
And everything else. I think the last one I watched not too long ago, and you go, "Oh, wow, I can't believe I'm on Omega right now, and I haven't seen a schlong in my face." I'm going, okay, this is interesting. Yeah, okay, but why? Knowing being on Omega and stuff like this, I know you see weird stuff and everything else like this, but what do you get out of when somebody... Do you get the recognition that somebody knows who you are, or is it just somebody you had one in there, some guy goes, "How are you doing that? I don't get it. How are you doing this?" And I'm just going, huh? I just lost my brain of thought, are you serious? Not saying people are stupid, but it just doesn't take 2 and 2 to make 17. It's not a number that mixes with those two, okay? It just doesn't make sense. And that person was just completely gassed. How are you doing that? And then you had other ones that they look at you and they disappear and you're going, okay. How do you deal with that kind of thing is what I'm getting at.
Yeah. So when I first started doing Omegle in 2020, they had little to no moderation, and that ultimately led to their demise. However, I do have a bit of a sore spot towards the people that litigated the shit out of Omegle to the point of them shutting down, because back in 2020, it was your stereotypical experience of person, penis, person, boobs, person, penis, that sort of thing. But because I was using it on a near weekly basis to create content, I got to see the transition that not a lot of people got to see. I knew there were lawsuits and litigations happening for many years through that period, because people were pissed off at what, there was some pretty horrible stuff on there. I'm not going to defend Omegle in that respect. Like, the early days of my journey with Omegle was pretty horrendous, and myself and my editors saw some pretty raunchy stuff. But by, I'd say, about 2021, 2022, somewhere in there, Omegle came in and they started putting in moderation controls, and it wasn't half-assed. Like, it got to the point in mid 2021 where I couldn't even do my job without getting banned. And it was bad. It was actually too far-reaching of moderation. You so much as sneezed, and boom, IP ban. You're done. And so they were going quite a ways to clean up the platform. And by the time it shut down at the end of 2023, that's what I was so pissed off about. Because, like, yeah, there's lots of horrible places on the internet, sure. But the team at Omegle, by that point, before they shut down, you can even ask any of my editors, like, we would go through raw footage and, like, we couldn't even remember the last time we saw a dick. Like, they had cleaned up the platform so much that I actually went probably half a year without seeing anything like that. It was just people. And so, to Omegle's credit, they actually did fix the platform before it shut down. But, as we all know, who, if you've dealt with a lot of, deranged and just absolutely driven parent groups, they just would not let up on the litigation. It wasn't that Omegle met them and their expectations. They just wanted it shut down. Like, by that point, their motives were pretty clear. It didn't matter that the platform did get cleaned up. It was just it was about shutting it down, because they just wanted that W. They just wanted to smash it into the ground so that they could strut around over its broken and fragmented body. But I mean, just like every issue on the internet that gets taken over by parent groups, it's like, you cut off the head and, 3 more pop up. It's the classic Hydra, because before Omegle was even shutting down, there were 5 other sites that had already gained popularity that are still running now. And their moderation is just as good as what Omegle was before it shut down. The one that I use now is Monkey App. And I was a little apprehensive, actually, with reactions from people, to answer the second part of your question. I was a little apprehensive to get back into it, because I took a hiatus after Omegle packed it in. It wasn't that I was, like, shell-shocked from Omegle getting shut down or anything. I was dealing with my mental health issues and burnout, and I just needed to take a break. I was already using Monkey App in early fall of last year before Omegle shut down, and I already had done a few videos with it. So that wasn't the reason why I stopped. The reason why I stopped doing Omegle content until recently was because of, I just needed to take a break. But I just shot a new Omegle video on Monkey App about 3 weeks ago. It's going to be coming out soon. It's getting edited right now. Plug. But yeah, I just shot a new one, and I was just like, I've been out of it for so long. I haven't put out content in so long. Like, people are just going to yell at me and just be mean to me and swear at me, and like, it's not going to be a fun experience at all, and I'm not going to get any good content. But I was like, let's give it a shot. And I went for an hour and a half, and I was shocked because I met about a dozen fans. And it was crazy. Like, as soon as, like, half the time I don't even have to be in like my avatar that's recognizable. They recognize me by my goddamn voice. Like, it's just like, Johnny? Is like, yo, it's Johnny. Like, I'm just like, what? Like, it's been how long? And you guys still remember me, which is really fucking cool. And so like those experiences are always fun, like getting recognized and just like interacting with fans on those platforms as well. But yeah, I do get the people who are, especially early on when I was pretty much the first person to do VR chat on that platform on Omegle, the interactions you get with people is just like, huh? Like, how are you doing this? Like, how are you embodying a character and doing live motion capture and talking to me like you're an animation, right? This is fake. This is AI. It's like, no, hi, like I'm here. I'm talking to you, and it's just you get some really cool reactions where people are genuinely interested in how it's being done and what my content is and all that. So and then you get the people who just want to have fun with it and role play with it and just like if you watch some of my videos, just some people buy right into the bit and just go along with it and just have a great time and we laugh and just have fun with it. And yeah, it's you get that whole wide repertoire of just different reactions. But yeah, even after all this time, it's bizarre that I still get recognized, and it's not just one or two people going, oh hey, I think I know you. It's like people calling my name as soon as we connect, just like, Johnny, how you doing? You know, like, okay, cool.
So, what made you want to start doing that style of Omegle content to begin with?
The do.
The do?
I didn't
The
invent
do.
I didn't
The
invent the
do.
category. I didn't invent the Omegle video or anything like that. I was a fan of the do,
Mm.
and I was a musician in VR chat, and I went, how can we put that together? And so I was like, hey, virtual webcams, you know, it's easy to get stuff like that onto a virtual webcam and just do it. And I was like, and if you look at like my original first few Omegle videos, that's all it was, is just literally, but I'm a singer, I'm not a guitarist. So I was singing to people versus playing a guitar, but it's literally just what the do was doing, just VR chat. And it just turned out to be a good idea that happened at the right place in the right time. And then like it was seeing moderate success, people were enjoying it, but I was getting, you know, screwed over by the record labels, because for people who don't know, and I don't blame you, like you don't see the inner workings of revenue models and AdSense revenue until you become a YouTube partner and start getting monetized. But essentially, the gist of it is you sing a couple bars of a copyrighted song, and it doesn't matter that it was 20 seconds of music. Your whole revenue is just, you know, Sony or Universal or Warner Music just walks in and says, yeah, all your revenue, that's mine now. Doesn't matter that it was 20 seconds of a 15-minute video. They're like, thank you for all of your money. Have a nice day. And so I quickly realized that if I didn't want to be poor, and you know, if I, you know, wanted to keep doing this and keep paying my bills, I had to do something other than music. And so that's around roughly the time when we developed the Baby Johnny character. And so I just went, experiment time. Let's take Baby Johnny and let's take Omegle, and instead of singing, I'll just do the Baby Johnny bit and let's see what happens. And the first video we did went absolutely disgustingly viral. And I just went, okay, there's a formula here. And just did that for a few years, and yeah, and here we are. And that kind of is a testament to experimentation as a YouTuber. All YouTubers, all successful YouTubers do this. You know, you're constantly looking at different things to tweak in your formula and try new things, but you don't want to stray too much off the path because then you lose your audience. So it's like, it's this delicate ballet of like developing new content, but not too new content. You always have to hold on to an essence of what your audience expects of you. And wow, my Quest really wants to pop up my Quest menu. There we go. So how you can tell I'm a hand talker, I constantly open my Quest menu accidentally. But And yeah, so like, what was the original question?
What made you want to start doing the Omegle videos in the first place?
Oh yeah. So like yeah, so it was just yeah, it was the do. I was a fan of the do. I loved his stuff. Like it was always funny to see people's reactions to a musician just showing off their chops, and that's all I did in the first few Omegle videos because like I know I'm a good singer and I enjoy singing and it always gets a reaction out of people, and so I was like, yeah, let's just take essentially what I was doing in Twitch with music streams and translate it to a formula that I perform in front of people on Omegle and kind of just, do an augmented version of what the do did. And it proved to be incredibly successful. It was just, one of those ideas that, just turned into something massive. And I knew I had come up with a good idea when other VRChat content creators started to do Omegle videos as well. All of a sudden, I'm like, okay, cool.
So I remember early in the conversation with Baby Johnny, you mentioned when it was first brought to you, you weren't a fan of it. At what point did you accept Baby Johnny, and have you ever grown to like Baby Johnny?
Oh, okay. Have I? There's a lot to unpack with that one. Have I ever grown to like Baby Johnny? Who? But it didn't take long because at the end of the day, if I wasn't a full-time content creator, I don't know if I would have pushed the character as far as I did. Because, and this shocks some people sometimes, I really am not a huge fan of the character. Just simply because from an artistic perspective, as a creator, I never was one to strive for lowest common denominator content. I am not a fan of it. I don't watch it. People are sometimes shocked when I'm like, yeah, I don't watch a lot of TikTok. I don't watch, Mr. Beast or anything else. Like, I don't watch a lot of mainstream YouTube. I don't watch iShowSpeed. I don't watch any of that mainstream YouTube content. It just doesn't interest me. At the core of my being, I'm an artist and I'm an innovator, and I want to create things that have a message and resonate with people. I don't want to create, the nicest way of putting it is just lowest common denominator content. And I think everybody kind of knows what that means. And so Baby Johnny, I kind of viewed in a lot of respects as just really cheap content. That's not to say I didn't take the character places. If you watch the evolution, if you actually sat down and watched the first Baby Johnny video and then like watched the evolution through all of the Baby Johnny videos, you can see the character evolve, because at the end of the day, I'm an actor and a comedian, and you have an obligation, if you're playing a character, to develop that character and grow it and see where it can go. But I always had this love-hate relationship with the character because it started with its inception of just being cheap content. But then it caused me, as a performer, to find ways to make it more than that. And I think I've done a pretty good job of it. But at the end of the day, would I rather prefer to play me or play other characters, or and just do other things? And the answer is absolutely yes. But my fan base and my audience absolutely loves the character, and you don't get to pick what makes you famous. If you're a person out there that got to pick what made you famous, congratulations, you are the 0.00001% of of the entertainment industry, because that's the reality. And that's the reality I've found over the years. And I've met and made friends with so many people, even outside of YouTube. I have actor friends, I have music friends, I have, like everybody in the industry across the entire spectrum. And that's one thing that in general you see with becoming famous, is nobody ever started out and went, that's going to make me famous, and that's what I'm going to do. Like that, it just doesn't work that way. You just make stuff until you find an audience, and whatever that audience latches onto, you better like doing, because that's what you're going to do. And it, you just have to look at artists like, I think there's no questioning it. If you followed the life of Kurt Cobain, for example, you could tell very much that that's what led to his ultimate end, was just he absolutely loathed what became of his art and what was most popular, because he didn't ever want that. And but you have to do it because that's what, every artist wants to make their mark. And so it's kind of this torturous sort of thing of like, you want to make your mark as an artist, but the detrimental effects of what that thing is, and whether or not you can live with it. And yeah, that's one of the dark sides of fame, actually. I tell people all the time, is just like that you better like what makes you famous. And that's why I've always had that love-hate relationship with Baby Jonny, because yeah, he can be funny and make people laugh and make people smile and all that sort of stuff, but also it's not at the top of the list of the content that I want to make. I'd much rather do many other things, but you got to do what keeps the lights on at the end of the day.
So how do you as a person juggle what the audience expects of you versus what you wish to do with your art?
Well, you use the correct word. You juggle. I don't do it well. But anybody who watches my channel and how just random and deranged it can be at sometimes, it's just like week over week, you never know what you're going to get out of me. And for me personally, I'm okay with that. The YouTube algorithm, on the other hand, hates me for that. But and it's not uncommon to open up comment sections in any of my platforms and see people begging for Baby Jonny. But you just try and find a balance, and like doing music video projects like the like Crazy Project or True Colors or any of the other music projects that I've done, and all that sort of stuff, that kind of keeps me grounded, and that's my reward for doing the other stuff that pays the bills. Is like, okay, you guys got your Baby Jonny content, now you're gonna have to sit through some more of my singing and you're gonna like it. But you have an audience that comes for Baby Jonny content, but you also have an audience that shows up and comes for the the music content. I have run into countless fans that are just like, I don't care about Baby Jonny. I just have you on my Spotify 24/7. I love your music. You just, that's what I think is so cool about modern content creation, is just you can do stuff like that. Whereas in the old days, using Kurt Cobain for another example, like, as soon as you become famous, you become that thing and only that thing, because back then there was only so much bandwidth for content, and so you had to be one dimensional. You couldn't have depth to you. Whereas we're so lucky nowadays with YouTube and TikTok and streaming and everything else, the full toolbox of platforms to create content for. I love the fact that you can create content on YouTube, like, I create the Baby Jonny content, but then at the same time turn around and I am basically just myself on Twitter or Instagram or TikTok or like pulling up a live stream, and you can just talk to me. I'm not necessarily being the character. You can interact directly with me, and it's different flavors of things and all that sort of stuff. So I think we're very fortunate in that, because now we have the exact opposite. We're not limited to a couple of radio stations and a couple of TV channels and all that. We have the internet, and we can do whatever we want. And our fans, as long as they can find us, if they like that content, they can consume it. It's there for them to consume. And that's why we're so fortunate now, and that's what I love doing as a creator. It doesn't lock me in. It's, if it was the old days and I got locked in with Baby Johnny, that's all people would ever know of me. You just look at someone like, say, Pee Wee Herman. I draw a lot of parallels from like what Pee Wee Herman did to Baby Johnny. It's a very similar sort of chaos. And so, I didn't watch a lot of Pee Wee Herman growing up. That was a little bit before my time, but I can respect what Paul Reubens did and the character that he wholly committed to. And the public only ever knew him as Pee Wee Herman, but there was a person behind that character that had depth. But because of the limited bandwidth, we never got to meet that person. Whereas now you can, which is so cool.
The last couple of final questions before I start wrapping things up. First of which is, what can people expect of you for future projects you're working on?
Yeah, so future projects, I've got a couple of new music projects currently in the works, including a spiritual successor to Welcome to VRChat. So if anybody's a fan of Welcome to VRChat, which surprisingly we never talked about really, but all I'll say to that is I've always been hugely honored to be essentially considered the meme song of VRChat, which is pretty cool. The national anthem of VRChat. I just wrote a funny song, and then so many people just absolutely embraced it and loved it, which was really cool. Or wrote a funny parody. I didn't write the original song, but yeah. So I've got a spiritual successor to Welcome to VRChat, so another parody song that I have performed live. So people who have come to my live shows have heard it and absolutely loved it. It's pretty much fully recorded. It's a collaboration with a very near and dear friend of mine, Creepy, who's an amazing, phenomenal musician in her own right and producer in her own right. She's fucking amazing. And so we are not only just parodying a song. Working with Creepy allowed us to do a whole new arrangement on the song that we chose to parody. To the point where it's essentially just a new song. Like, there's still the essence of the original song that we're parodying in there, but we added our own flares to it, and certainly Creepy, who is an amazing artist, she came in and added her textbook, just absolute flair of music stylings, and it's currently out getting mixed right now, and hopefully will be out soon, probably within the next month or two. We'll see how the community reacts to that one, and go from there. All I can say is it is very much a representation, just like Welcome to VRChat was a representation of where VRChat was in 2021 when I wrote that parody. I think it's safe to say that a lot of elements of VRChat have gotten a little lewd, and so I wanted to have a little bit of fun with that and call that out and just poke fun at that. And so I think just writing another parody song that is a representation of where a large aspect of the community is right now in this point in time in VRChat is just it's always fun to do that. It's just always, yeah, and you hope it just resonates with people, and they have a laugh, and they see a bit of themselves in it, and just, that's art. And then like I mentioned, I've got a bunch of videos in the works, a lot of Baby Johnny videos coming up that we have already shot that are currently being edited. I've got a army of editors now who are working tirelessly to get everything done so we can start releasing it. And I'm essentially just viewing it as I had a season finale last fall. That was season 1 of TFMJonny. Came to an end. I took a hiatus of about 8 months, and now we're ready to start season 2. And the season premiere starts probably in a week or so.
Oh wow!
And we'll see how it goes from there.
And TFMJonny, the name you use across everything. What are the origins of that name, and why do you use it?
Well, Johnny is just, my name IRL, is that. So, and then the TFM, like I said earlier, comes from the TFM community, the Truckers FM community that I originally started out with, where I learned broadcasting essentially, just being a radio DJ on an internet radio station. So that's where that stems from.
Okay. And the avatar style you use, the Wolf Boy, why do you continue to use that in VRChat as an avatar or your representation of yourself?
I need to pause for a second because my headset's about to die and I'm going to get decapitated.
Of course.
Yay, Quest. I forgot to plug myself in before we started. I know it's probably the last
I'm surprised
question.
it's lasted this long, actually.
I'm gonna
Good job.
wait. Yeah.
I'm quite
the
impressed
Quest
if
Pro
you're
lasts
using
You gotta
it.
sit on
2
Raptor.
hours.
I just
Another
got
person to get set
I
on
just
Raptor.
got mugged by his ass. I just got fucking mugged by his tail on his ass. Holy shit, fuck. Johnny just tried to sit on me.
There goes. Okay, hold
Oh,
on.
dear.
I'm coming
You're
back to life.
okay?
Hopefully I'm not. Hopefully my butt's not in your face again. Hold on. One moment,
No,
please.
it's not.
Oh, Johnny.
You're sitting down,
Like,
thank
let's all
God.
go to the
Johnny.
lobby. Cue the
Yeah.
intermission music. Yeah.
Well,
You
with the
have no
magic
idea
of
how
editing,
funny that
this
is.
part
I
will
got-
disappear.
Hopefully I didn't fall off the boat.
Yeah, thank God,
there we
because
go.
wow,
You have
Johnny
power.
just sat on Raptor.
Now I just gotta
Oh
wait
my
for the red
God.
blinking
I got
battery
a
to go
famous
away.
man sitting on
Can
me.
you still hear us, Johnny?
I was hoping I was
No,
going to catch
probably
it
not.
before this happened. Cheers,
Wow.
everybody. This is a good
I
rain
don't think
delay,
you
a
can hear
drink
us.
break.
Yeah, thank God.
Yeah.
I can at least go around going, hey, I know Johnny, and he sat on me, and I feel special.
I'm sure you're saying very poignant and amazing things right now, but I can't hear anything.
I knew it.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
like, he's
Definitely
not,
poignant
because
and
he
friendly.
killed
Do
me.
we have enough juice now?
He's gonna kill
The
me.
blinking red battery life thingy. Give it one more minute. One more minute. Let's all go
So,
to the
Crispy, how much
lobby.
of this
Let's
should I
all
edit
go to
out?
the lobby. There we go.
I
The
know.
meta symbol of life.
You
Dun,
could,
dun, dun,
you could
dun,
probably
dun,
keep all of it. Who knows?
Keep it. We've never
I just-
cut nothing yet.
Fair.
I would start now.
Here's the
You
funny
know?
thing. Here's the funny thing. We're constantly joking about how Raptor always ends up getting sat on, and now he gets sat on by one of these
I
idols.
just did by a famous person. I'm going, hey man, I feel special, god damn it. Kiss my ass, I got sat on by Johnny. I win. Hope he comes
There we
back.
go.
Jeez. Oh, well,
Oh, here he comes.
everyone,
All right.
behave yourselves.
Yeah. Well, let him
He's
watch the
back.
video and find out what comes up. He's gonna hunt me down and kick my
You should
I'd
ass.
send
love
him
to
the
see this
unedited version.
Oh, of course.
Oh, I bet he would.
Absolutely.
And
Welcome back, Johnny. We
Welcome
totally
back.
were
We were
joking on the fact
behaving.
that you
Yeah.
sat onto Raptor for the last
I'll have
5
to-
minutes.
I'll have to see what happened. I'll have to see what happened while I was gone when this
Oh, yeah.
releases.
Here's the thing, Lion
Yeah,
likes to
just
keep
don't-
things very
just don't
raw.
hunt
He
me
doesn't
down.
like to edit
Just-
much out, so
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
just don't hunt,
It's okay.
Johnny. Just don't hunt me down and going, that little shit, I'm going to find him and I'm going to sit on him properly.
oh yeah, it's gonna be funny. We're gonna love it.
Oh, man. Okay, what was the last question you asked before I met my maker for a
Avatar.
little
Oh,
bit?
of course. The avatar you use, the
Oh, the
Wolf
Wolf Boy
Boy,
avatar, yeah.
where did that come about and why do you continue to use it?
So early 2020, right before kind of everything went kaboom, I had an avatar since 2018, which was like this weird sort of MMD TDA based, like everything was at VRChat back at that day. Was just this weird sort of cobble together of an MMD avatar. It had some elements of like Homestuck in it, so hence, anybody wondering why I'm pale and, red and yellow eyes, and that's the reason. It was just an avatar that I found that, back in 2018, that it was just like, oh, this is good enough. This represents me. We'll use this. And then that had kind of like run its course, and I'm like, okay, time for a fresh coat of paint. So I went shopping for an avatar, just trying things out, seeing what was out there, and just came across this avatar that was clonable. It was a public avatar, and it was this wolf boy that was fairly popular at the time. And I was like, hey, I kind of like that. I've never thought of being a wolf boy, but, hey, let's see if we can make something of this. And it was a Buttercup Senpai wolf boy. And so I went to Buttercup Senpai and bought the avatar off of them. The legalities of that be damned, but it was a kit bash of some TDA assets and stuff like that. But again, it was a different era of VRChat, and everybody did it. And so I took that avatar and sat down with my artist at the time, Dronoko, and we just sat in Unity and just Unity and Photoshop and just went, okay, let's color this and texture it so that it looks like Jonny. And we just spent a few hours doing that. It was more so Dronoko than me, because when it comes, any of the artists that I've worked with will immediately tell you, like, Jonny's color theory and all that sort of just absolute dog shit. But so it was more so me doing the Unity stuff and Dronoko sitting on the Discord call going, yes, no, no, yes, change that, and we just Johnnified that avatar and debuted it, and everybody was like, yeah, this is great. You're a wolf boy now. Whatever. We're gonna be, I had a few longtime community viewers who had formed this little wolf pack thing, and so immediately, as soon as they saw me leaning into a wolf pack avatar, they were just like, "Oh, we're the wolf pack now," and just the whole community just latched onto it. And then, as fate would have it, the Omegle videos happened, and that became the image that I was known for. And then it just stuck, and it just became that. And then I became the wolf boy of VRChat, and the rest is history, and I will probably be a wolf boy forever. So it's just how it goes. And unlike baby Jonny, I am totally fine with being a wolf boy. So I will always be a wolf boy happily. And yeah, that's just how it happened. And I refreshed the avatar's gone through a few refreshes and a few redesigns, and this current iteration is a concept that was done by my current lead artist, Apocalypse. We just sat down and we're like, where do we want to go? We didn't want to do a full rebrand, but we're just like, okay, this is where my lore is, this is where the story is, this is where everything is, where the community is. Where do we want to take this? Where am I personally in my life? Because, I'm in mid-30s now. I could literally be somebody's fucking dad. And so, like, where do we want to take this? I'm like, well, let's own the dad energy. And I jokingly refer to myself as a dad tuber, not a VTuber. And so we're just like, let's come up with this sort of truly honest dad version of TFMJonny. And so Apocalypse concepted it out, and we threw some ideas back and forth, and then I handed it off to my new avatar maker that I've been working with, Crace, and he just put it all together, and now we have the the dad version of TFMJonny that has some elements of the original Wolf Boy with the striped red shirt. I can take off my clothes. No, I can take the jacket off, and you can see, it kind of is reminiscent of the original red and black sweater that I used to wear, and but now it's just a little bit different flavor and a little bit more grown up, and yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for joining us. It's an absolute pleasure learning all about you, from your history of the artifacts to all of your content. So thank you. It's been an honor.
Damn,
oh, thank you for having me. It's been awesome to just yammer on and on. I always, when people ask to interview me, they're just like, are you okay with talking and everything? And I always reference the one line in Shrek where original Shrek where they're shocked that Donkey can talk. They're like, he can talk, and Shrek goes, yeah, it's getting him to shut up. That's the trick. It's like that's me. That's me at the core. It's just you just give me a question, and you're gonna be like, okay, when is he gonna shut up? When is he gonna shut up? God damn, when is he going to shut up? Oh, man.
Oh no, how terrible. An
Sounds
entire channel branded on
That
you
sounds like
answering
so-
questions. How terrible.
Boy, yeah. Holy shit. I don't know
Yes.
how I can relate to this. Really, I don't.
Well, again, thank you. Where can the audience find you if they wish to find you? Although I'm sure everyone knows at this point.
Just Google TFMJonny and laugh at all of the different things that autocomplete in Google. It's just like some of them funny, some of them weird, some of them creepy. But yeah, just type in TFMJonny. You don't even have to spell it right. But yeah, TFMJonny on the Googles or the YouTubes or the TikToks or wherever you get your content. But primarily, I'll be developing for YouTube right now. So if you want the newest of newest content, then head over to the YouTube channel and subscribe and all that sort of stuff. Ring that bell and all that other crap that YouTubers say.
Fair. And before we hand it over to Raptor to close things up, we'll ask you, the audience, a question. What is your favorite moment from Jonny's content? Streams, music? Let us know in the comments. Raptor, you know the thing.
I got you. No matter what you do, folks, you can be in VR and everything else like this. And I'm bouncing back and forth because a girl named Crispy on the other end reminds me of a bobblehead. Because she's been doing it the whole time in line has not been catching this. So I'm enjoying the hopping and dropping and her bouncing around, up and down, back and forth, copying me on the other end of this camera. You have a good one, folks. We'll see you next time around. Bye.